Alright, ladies and gentlemen, I'm your host, today's broadcast name, Lear 13, as we are prepared to get underway here for the first out of 6 stints for TORA's 12 Hours of Sebring. I will be covering the C lobby today for stints 1 through 4. There will be a break during stint 5, and then I'll be back to cover the final stint later today. Real quick, let's go ahead and look over some of the drivers who will be partaking in today's event. In the Bentley Speed 8, you have AFMG Aussie in that AFMG machine. Scarlet T42 is in the 742 black, pink, and blue machine. AFC Hyper LM is in the 224 Bentley machine. Then you get to the Toyota TSO20s, my favorite race car of all time. AFC Maverick is in the 223 machine. LMP V Luzco is in this Martini-inspired 827. That's probably going to go down as my favorite livery of the entire event. I absolutely love this. AFZ Cypher is going to be in the 227 all black Toyota TSO20. SFM Darkster, who is also the driver hosting today's lobby, is going to be in the number 97 machine. Then you get to the BMWs. The number 78 Doritos machine is going to be driven by TNR Blade. The BMW driven by Rama 109416 is right here. It is white, black, with a little bit of red, blue, orange on it. Then Strict Code is going to be in this green number 44 BMW, and Everstone, it seems like their paint has not loaded in. Hopefully that's fixed once we load onto the track properly. Then we look at our bottom category, our GT category. These are road cars built up to GT spec, mind you, so we're seeing a little bit different lineup of cars here than what we normally would see. Amongst these drivers, you have the 239 of SPV Sargent. He is going to be in the Chevrolet. FFR Sweesing is going to be in another Chevrolet. This one has a very early 2000s-esque styling to it. LMP Kaiser is going to be in what I believe is the 826 Chevrolet GT machine. Then you get to the Porsches. VSR Alonso is in the all 4, the 444 Porsche. Apex Yes is in the pink number 45 Porsche. Mind you, these Porsches, they are career progression limited. You have to complete a certain amount of the game's career mode to unlock these Porsches. That goes to show some incredible dedication by some of the drivers here. Blocktoberfest is going to be, it was a little bit of a hiccup there. Blocktoberfest is going to be in the Dodge Viper, the number 41. I have high expectations for the Dodge Vipers in today's event. We'll get into that a little bit deeper into the run. Mosmatos is going to be in the IARA Dodge Viper, the black with blue and yellow highlighted ones. EVR Senna 822 is going to be in one of the 2002 BMWs, not to be confused with the 2002 BMW that came out of the 1970s. And then you will also have, we should be able to see C480, but apparently C480 is having trouble loading into the lobby and staying stable in the lobby proper. So we should be looking at about 20 different drivers in today's event, 11 of them being prototype. So keep an eye on the prototype category, because this is going to be a case that we've not seen a lot of. Typically over the last few TORA events, you have a lot more GTs and prototypes. This time we're actually going to have a little bit even balance between GTs and prototypes, or something closer to an even balance. This means that navigating traffic's not going to be as difficult, but instead you're going to see a lot more, or at least potentially see a lot more driver-on-driver action here in the top category. Bottom category is going to be interesting as well. Again, this is a new kind of car. We don't typically see road cars being built up to GT spec being used in TORA events. We did have an event where the entire class, the entire bottom class was this. This was back at the Sunset Enduro that was done last year. But typically during the big TORA Enduros, this is a rarity. We don't usually see this being done. It looks like everybody is readied up. I'm not sure if they're going to go without C480 or if they're going to wait a little bit longer for C480, as we are already starting to slip behind our timetables right now. So for those of you who are not familiar with a TORA event, here's how a TORA event works. Everyone loads onto the circuit, they roll off in single file formation up to a specified alternate start-finish line. They'll usually be rolling at a pace speed of about 60 miles an hour in that single file formation. Once every car hits that predetermined start-finish line, that car is allowed to start racing. It's just pure out racing from that point until you get to 1 hour and 40 minutes into the run. These endurance events typically are set with a 2-hour limit, but this one has what I believe is a 1 hour and 40 minute limit. They have experimented with shorter limits before, but typically for their bigger events, they still stick with 1 hour and 40. So that way they have 20 minutes for everyone to come to a stop, and they can go ahead and register where everyone's actual location is on track in relation to each other and everyone's total distance. They do that for every single stint and add it up over the course of the entire event. Also, coming into the lobby right now is C480. He is going to be in this blue and red number 480 BMW. Very simplistic, but very stylized. I have a lot of respect for what this thing looks like. I believe this is also the vehicle that we will see Roken in a little bit later in the event. So keep an eye on that. But that is making up for 21 cars total, including me. It's 20 cars if you're not including me, obviously. So 11 prototypes and 9 GT cars. So we're going to be in just a little bit of a waiting period here until they load onto the circuit proper. Qualifying has been taking place over the last several days as they now begin to organize the grid in proper order here. 20 cars here at Sebring, one of the bumpiest circuits in world history, I would argue at this point. It's a very nice and flowing circuit. If the circuit wasn't so excessively abrasive, it would be very well recognized, yes, for being, having a little bit of everything here, but the extreme bumpiness of the circuit basically overtakes everything else. You need to have a good setup to be able to handle the bumps here. But the thing is, and I'll get a little bit more into this in the broadcast later on when the action has calmed down a bit, setup isn't really going to matter in the way that you think it would in today's event. We'll talk more about that later, but keep an eye on it. It's going to be a lot more driver adaptability. I think this may be one of the more interesting TORA Enduros we'll see for a long time because adaptability will be huge. We're going to take a Twitch-mandated ad break, and when we come back, hopefully we'll catch the cars as they're coming to the green flag here at Sebring. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back here to Sebring. And it looks like we may be having a disconnect issue here as drivers farther down the grid seem to have already separated and backed out of the event. Not quite sure what's going on here, but the hope is that we'll be able to get fixed sooner rather than later. So yeah, gonna have to do a quick lobby reset. Typical endurance event shenanigans here. SPV Sergeant still has yet to back out right now. We're not really sure what's going on here. There we are. As now they begin to load back on the circuit, and we'll reattempt to organize things a second time here. All right, still staying by, waiting for them to go ahead and re-rack and stack for the event. C4A still has yet to ready up, but once he is, we should be able to go ahead and do attempt number 2 for a gain underway here at Sebring. So while we're in this bit of a holding pattern, we will go ahead and talk about the big change from this TORA Enduro compared to the vast majority of other TORA Enduros. Typically, TORA Enduros are open tune. You're allowed to set up and tune the car in whatever way you want. That is not the case for this event due to at least 3 different massively well-known exploits that I am aware of. If there may be more, but I am aware of at least 3 very significant ones. TORA has decided that instead of trying to keep up with all the different tuning exploits that are seen to be as unsportsmanlike as they are tuned to abuse the way that the game's physics work rather than actually showcase better skill of the car, the decision instead by TORA has been to go ahead and roll out fixed tunes for the event. So every car has 2 to 3 fixed tunes. Now all the tunes are the exact same except for brake pressures, as there are a lot of varieties with how people like their brake pressures to be done. We are going to see some drivers running with higher brake pressures, some with lower brake pressures, but other than that, everyone is running the exact same setup in their cars for the event. So this is going to be a big case of adaptability. Now, if you're in the A lobby, there may be some argument, well, ESV Barcode was the one who set up most of the tunes, so things are going to be unfairly stacked in his favor. The point's not lost on anybody, I would argue, but at the same time, at some point, you have to bloody pull the trigger and do something unique, do something out of the ordinary. Barcode has shown enough reliability within TORA with helping to balance the cars before that everyone has shown, hey, everyone within the administration has said, hey, we'll have him and a few other people he uses to help make fixed tunes for the event. So everyone is in a fixed tune. You are going to be looking at adaptability by the drivers. How good can the drivers handle what one of the fastest in TORA history can give to them? That is the way it's going to come down to, as we are off once again for attempt number 2 here at Sebring. So it's going to be SFM Darkstar, followed by LMP Veluzco and AFZ Cypher. So Toyota's 1, 2, 3. Then you'll have TNR Blade and EVR Stone. After that is AFMG Alzi and Scarlet 42. Following them is AFZ Maverick and AFZ Hyper LM. After that is Strict Code 07 and Rama 109416. Then you get to the GTs. That's Mazmatos and LMP Kaiser. Then C480 and SPV Sergeant. After that is FFR Suising and EVR Senna. Then yes, Blocktoberfest and Alonso. And our leaders have already accelerated out. We are about. Have we already gone green? Normally they go green by that point. Are they running an alternate start-finish line from where they did last season? Or last year, I should say. Yeah, we're still under the pace speed right now. I wonder if they're going to do the full lap of pace. This used to be TORA standard way back in Forza Motorsport 7. On the very first stint of every event, the field would run in pace speed formation, single file all the way around, then double up near the end, and you would have a proper double file start. But since I believe it was the Kyalami Enduro early in FM8's launch, that's not really been the standard anymore. All the stints have been measured the same, but we may see a little bit of a difference here. They may be going back to a proper full pace lap, followed by double file on the start here. So yes, it does seem like we're going to be using different procedures here for Stint 1. So that would explain what the difference is. If we are going back to the double file initial event start, I heavily recommend, I am very happy with it. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to be silent while everyone watches the field come to the green flag in this double file formation. We'll pick up commentating after a few corners here. Are you kidding me? Well, just as we were about to come down to the green flag. We've had one of the AFZ drivers lag out, and now we are going to do another lobby restart attempt. So this will be attempt number 3 now. Guesses they're about to come to the start-finish line there. And we apologize. I turned off all the little HUD and stuff so that way you could get a good aesthetic of them coming to the green flag and rushing down to turns 1, 2. But fate has decided that's not going to be the case that time. We apologize for that. But while we are in this holding pattern, we're going to go ahead and knock out a Twitch-mandated ad break here. And when we come back, hopefully everyone will be readied up and we'll be able to get underway once again here at Sebring for what will be now attempt number 3. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back here to Sebring. We are in a bit of a holding pattern right now as they are waiting for what will be attempt number 3 at getting our TORA 12 Hours of Sebring Stint 1 underway here. But we now know at least at bare minimum they are going to be doing the full pace lap followed by 1 lap green flag. So followed by a green flag at the end of that 1 lap with a double foul start. So again, I am really excited for that. I know that may seem like a silly thing, but that used to be TORA normality back in FM7. And it's nice to see it's finally returned after about 3 years of being gone, as they are going to reorder the grid once again here. Okay, it still kept everything off. Congratulations. Turn the ticker off. We use the points of interest camera real quickly here just because I'm a sucker. I'm a real sucker for these. I absolutely love how these look as you see them rolling through the field. So everyone's going to be single file. They'll try to rush around to the back straightaway, and then once there, they'll slow it back down, bring it down to a double file formation, and then they will be good. So if they go ahead and get to the start-finish line to start this lap, this is going to be officially it. They will not have another reset, even if half the lobby lags out. Which, thankfully, as much as people hate this game is significantly more stable than last one. Last game, it wasn't uncommon for a third of a TORA field to lag out. This time, we usually only see about 2 or 3 drivers lag out, typically, over the course of an event. All right, 11 prototypes, 9 GT cars. Some of the best prototypes that history has ever seen, and a series of road-going cars built up to race-going spec. We're gonna, like I said earlier, we're going to go ahead and be quiet here. And turn off all the HUD so you get a clean representation of the start of this race. Will cut in about half a lap into this running as they come to the green flag here at Sebring. All right, well, we are off here. You can see immediately there's been a bit of a breakaway, and even within that breakaway, at the front, there's contact, and he's hooked, and Lusco gets hooked by Blade. The Doritos BMW hooks the Martini Toyota, and the Toyota falls backwards through the field down to 5th, might even drop out of the top 5 as he gets overtaken. The meat in a 3-wide sandwich very nearly, but he'll go deep under braking, and now AFM, the Aussie, and Maverick get into it, trying to avoid the Toyota as the Toyota went deep under braking, and all of a sudden out of nowhere, chaos has erupted here in the prototype field. That is Aussie, who has gone wide. That's gonna let way the BMW's in. Aussie is wide again, drops tires into the dirt. He's gonna fall back to 9th now. Here comes Scarlatti trying to look into the outside. No room there as AFMG Bentley bounces aggressively over the curbs. He's gonna do a really short cut there, just trying to get the consistency back into the car. And they fire it up onto the straightaway. Cypher and Maverick started next to each other. They're still side by side, but now they're right behind Lusco. Neck and neck between the AFC cars. Finally, Cypher pulls in line behind Maverick, but that leaves Cypher up to attack from behind. Here comes a BMW. That's Stretch Code. Stretch Code qualified way down near the very bottom of the prototype field. He's already trapped the top half of the prototype field now, but not easily. They're still side by side, neck and neck. Open top versus closed top. Toyota versus BMW as they come out turn number 1 there. Stritch Code firing it off. It looks like Stritch Code has now cracked the top 5. Luzco has recovered from that hook that nearly turned him right there, has moved him up to the grid. But while there has been absolute chaos here in the prototype category, it's nothing compared to the GT category. SPV Sergeant is having a pit here on lap 1 due to damage on the car, it would appear. There's already been quite a bit of spread near the middle of the GT category as well. And your leader in GT is LMP Kaiser, followed by Mosmatos and Apex Yes. So 3 different manufacturers representing the top 3 positions. It is Chevy leading. It is a Dodge versus Porsche action going on a little bit farther down the field here. And it looks like Apex Yes around the outside, and that pink Porsche will go to the front. Interesting thing with that pink Porsche, because typically when I see a pink Porsche, it's normally with all those cuts of meat that you saw back in that 1970s prototype, but that is not the case with this. This is a unique pink Porsche all on its own, and really to really hammer in the variety that we're seeing here at the top of the GT field, 4th place, while he's a little bit off pace of our top 3, 4th place is a 4th different manufacturer, C480 here in the BMW. So chaos early on has revealed a lot of shakeup here farther up in the grid. Meanwhile, in prototypes, it is a fight between Stone and Blade, a pair of BMWs going at it. So while the BMWs didn't qualify very well, they are hustling their way up the grid, but they are both a long way back from your current leader, SFM Darkster, who used the chaos from second on back to open up a gap. He's just going to try and manage that gap throughout the rest of this run. Neck and neck between the 22 and the 78 here. BMW on BMW action. Still side by side as they come down into the second heavy braking zone of the circuit. It looks like for now, Everstone is the one who has it. It's actually EVR Stone, but my brain is automatically calling it Everstone, so I'm going to call him Everstone while he's here. And 4th place is Luzco, who is trying to recover from very nearly getting hooked and turned into a wall back on lap 1. Stritch Code is maintaining a solid position in 5th right now in the BMW. So the BMWs are showing a lot of aggression, except for this one here. Rama, who started near the back of the grid, is still stuck in the back of the grid, having trouble making his way up through the order right now. That's Hyper LM being attacked by Scarlett just ahead now. A pair of Bentleys. So all the Bentleys seem to have fallen out of the top half of the prototype category here. Rama trying to stay ahead of AFZ Cypher. Looks like he will be able to pull that off for the moment. As these 2 BMWs here for 2nd and 3rd continue to go back and forth at it. I'm really shocked that all these Bentleys ended up right on top of each other. We do know that all of the cars have the exact same tuning, although there is a little bit of difference. Alternate versions of the tunes will have alternate brake pressures. But other than that, every other setup on these cars are equal. They are the same. So with that in mind, you would think that you'd see a lot more spreading based on driver skill and driver ability. But right now, at least in the Bentley, Hyper, Ozzy, and Scarlett all right on top of each other. So you have to wonder if is this a good showcase that all 3 of these drivers are very equal to each other in terms of performance here early on in the race. As we ride on board with Scarlett right now, he tries to close in on AFMG. Ozzy looks for a dive to the inside, but is not going to commit to it. But in the process, he's forced the AFMG machine to go wide and compromise his next 3 corners here. Now, draft's going to kick back in on this straightaway here for the Bentleys, and Ozzy will use the draft off of Hyper LM to try and back away from Scarlett just a little bit. Ozzy really willing to get onto alternate lines, but he just seems to be compromising himself by doing so. It leaves him open to threat here from Scarlett, which is what Scarlett's trying to take advantage of, coming around the outside. Side by side, neck and neck between the 2, and Scarlett muscles his way through. So Scarlett now gets by Ozzy and puts that black, pink, blue, and white Bentley up into the 8th position overall right now. We have finally had a bit of a separation between Everstone and TNR Blade. Luzco runs in 4th, but he has another BMW in the form of Stritch Code pulling up behind him. So early on, it looks like in the prototypes, drivers are struggling to come to grips with the Bentley here. Meanwhile, we'll go ahead and look farther down in the GT category. This is the midfield. This is the green and white Porsche of VSR Alonso. He is ranked just behind C480. C480 got his highest fourth earlier, but is now starting to slip backwards through the field as Alonso has closed in on him. Sweet King is way farther back, so Alonso can see C480 and Blocktoberfest just ahead. So this is a little menage a trois here, a Dodge, a BMW, and a Porsche. So, if my memory serves correctly, I'm not familiar with all these cars, but I do happen to be running right now a late 90s Japanese Grand Touring Car series. And in that series, we have the same Porsche, the same Dodge. If my memory serves correctly, the Porsche has a significant downforce advantage over the other cars in the same category, about a 30 to 50% downforce increase on the front and rear wings in the Porsche compared to the other cars in this era. Most road cars in this game typically have 100 pounds of front downforce when you put the Forza Aero on, and 200 pounds of rear downforce when you put the Forza Aero on. But this Porsche, that is not the case. I believe the front downforce number is 133, and I think the rear is 245 or 250, if I remember correctly. It's been a little while since I looked at the Porsche's downforce numbers, because I don't drive a Porsche in that series. I helped set it up, but now the series is underway, I don't touch it. But as the Porsche has a downforce advantage, now again, it all comes down to when the tune was made and developed by Barcode. Did he go ahead and take advantage of the extra downforce or not? But if the tune that Barcode has is actually taking advantage of the extra downforce that the Porsche has had, the Porsche is going to get a little bit of an advantage throughout the corners, as long as the bumps are so shaky that it throws the car offline. Despite all the weight pushing down. If that's not a problem, all the downforce will, in theory, give the Porsche better handling through the corners and may also aid with tire life. Tire life is going to be one of the other big things you're going to want to keep an eye on throughout the event. You need to keep an eye on what your tires are going to be doing. C480 coming back on Blocktoberfest, BMW on Dodge action, neck and neck between the two. And it looks like C480 goes deep, maybe a little bit too deep. He not only loses that position that he just gained, he might lose another spot here to the Porsche. And he will. It was a bold move by C480, but it's all falling apart a little bit too fast. And just behind them, that is SFM Darkster, who is now starting to make his way through bottom category traffic for the first time today. And that is going to be something we see a lot. We're only 12 minutes into race. Actually, a little less than that because we had the pace lap. And already... Oh! And Darkster's into the dirt! It wasn't too bad. He didn't lose a lot of time there. But the chaos is going to be high. That's going to be one of the big things. The pace differential from top category to bottom category today is one of the biggest it's ever been. Most of these road cars built up to GT specs, they're like S-Class. Typically, the bottom category are proper GT3 cars and normally an R-Class. So this is going to be one of the biggest differences in speed and lap time that you'll see between prototypes and GTs. Now, this does help, as you see right here on the straightaway. It's no issue whatsoever because the GT cars have just no response in a straight line, but anytime you catch them in the corners, it is going to be a chaos, a pain in the rear every time you have to go by one of these cars in the corner because they're going to be so much slower, and they will be on your ideal line. It's not like, well, I can just hold off for a second and just wait until I nip them on corner exit. You may have to be forced to go onto the alternate lines immediately to make something happen. Now, Darkster's been fortunate. He's already gotten through the majority of the bottom category field. He's coming up on the lead right now in LMP Kaiser. Once he's disposed of Kaiser here, and he very nearly runs right into the back of that Chevrolet, kicks the rear end of that Toyota out just a bit, but he is away. Darkster very nearly runs into the back of Kaiser before hitting the afterburners. You could see the rear end of that prototype kick out a bit as he finally got away. But yeah, navigating traffic is going to be a constant headache throughout the field today. This is a fight between AFC Maverick and LMP Luzco, and they have just behind them TNR Blade as they are trying to cut their way through the field. Toyota on Toyota action here in the top category. Up the inside, that is Maverick, and he'll clear Luzco. Luzco got tires in the dirt on the outside, could not keep it side by side. They're going to split that Dodge 3 wide. Dude, imagine being in the bottom category and having to watch these cars going so much faster than you just whipping around. No problem like this. It's gotta be unnerving. Oh! And Maverick is the one who drops the tire in dirt. He doesn't go off nearly as much as what we saw Darkster did. But it looks like that's gonna be the big problem part of the circuit. If you catch any traffic there, you are gonna be in a lot of headache. But yeah, if we've already caught traffic once, we're not even 15 minutes in of proper racing. If we're catching traffic once every 15 minutes, you do the mathematics, over a 100-minute event, you'll be looking at catching traffic, let's see here, 6 times? Yeah, you'll be looking at catching traffic about 6 times over the course of the event. We've already done it once. SFM Darkster into the pits now. Everstone comes into second place, so it looks like we are now in the middle of pit stops. So not only do the prototypes just catch and dispose of bottom category traffic, it looks like tire wear is really coming into play aggressively now as well. %41 left in the tires for Maverick here for LMP Luzco. He is at 42% on the rears. And then here in third place is TNR Blade. He has 40% left on the tires. So if those other drivers who are in the prototypes already pitted, I'm talking Darkster, Stone, and Strict Code, you have to wonder if maybe they put on the soft tires, and these tires are the medium tire compounds. If that's the case, that would have a pretty significant difference in how things are going to go. And when it comes to strategy, that's the other thing that's been really interesting. Strategy having opened up over the last few TORA Enduros as tire wear has been cranked up. It really came... Oh! And there's a lot of contact here at the top of the prototype category. Maverick and Luzco will not get away from being side by side with each other. And they've got Blade right behind. Right on board with Blade as he watches these Toyotas. Oh, he hits Maverick from behind. Gives Maverick a shove from behind. And that will break things out in Luzco's favor just a little bit here. And you'll see them fire off into the final corner here. Again, they're going to go side by side. We're on board with Blade. I'm curious to see. The reason I'm riding with Blade is that I want to see if Blade's going to try and get a draft off of Maverick or Luzco. Which driver does he think is going to prevail in this fight? Well, he's definitely closing down because Blade's not having his corners compromised, being side by side with someone. But it does look like Luzco has just enough to eke by. But around the outside goes Maverick. A little bit of a slide by Luzco. They make contact. Neither of them are really doing good here. Here they come. Down this bend and now onto a straightaway to one of the heavier braking zones. Maverick has cleared Luzco. Here goes Blade, but Blade's blocked in. There's nowhere for Blade to blow. Blade goes up the inside. 3 wide. Goes deep. Lets the black Toyota get back alongside. Still side by side, and it's going to be the Toyota who is up in front still, followed by another Toyota trying to hold off that Dorito Mazda once again, side by side between the Toyotas, and Luzco goes deep. He gives Maverick a door shunt. He knocks him off circuit just a bit. Blade now comes back in the fray. Blade gets right under the rear wing of Luzco's Martini Toyota, cannot get alongside yet. It's once again Toyota, Mazda, not Mazda, I apologize, Toyota, BMW, Toyota, and it really seems like Blade has a superior handling, a superior understanding of how the car works right now. He's just able to destroy everything in the corners. If these Toyotas let that BMW get out into clean air here, it's going to be a walkaway, I imagine, by Blade. But Luzco and Maverick, while they're still fighting amongst each other, they're doing a good job keeping Blade busy right now. Blade now trapped on the outside line in the final corner, the bumpiest parts of the circuit here. Blade has a little bit of a draft, where he did briefly have a bit of a draft off Luzco, but now Luzco goes wide. Neither of these two have draft off him, going down the front straightaway. Blade goes deep into turn number 1. Will that enable him to clear Maverick? Not quite. Maverick has superior straight line by the looks of it. Oh, that was a bold move. I don't know where that decision to make that move came from, but both Blade and Maverick are compromised a bit, and that's going to let Luzko now open up just a bit of a gap here. Now Maverick looks back to the inside, neck and neck, side by side in the heaviest braking zone, and this time the 223 will clear the 78 as they come out. It looks to me like the Toyotas have slightly superior straight line speed, but man, that... Oh, and AFMZ Aussie, one of our prototypes, have dropped out of the event already, only about 21 minutes in. We'll try to reach out to Aussie here, see if he wants to give us an interview, but frustration to see one of our prototypes drop out this early. Also anticipating to see these drivers pit almost any moment here. But while this is going on, real quickly, I want to give a quick shout. Coming into the party right now is AFMZ Aussie. Aussie, are you able to hear me? Aussie, can you hear me? All right, well, while we're waiting on word from Aussie, just a quick look. All right, here we are. Aussie, can you hear me? All right, in the Xbox party, there should be a little box to hit. It will say include audio. Can you go ahead and hit that? All right, cool. Aussie, welcome to the party. The bad news is we're talking to you way before the end of the stint. What took you out there?
Unfortunately, we had a technical difficulty, and basically the Bentley expired. Yeah. Unfortunately, I was actually starting to get into a groove and starting to do personal best lap times. And yeah, I was trying a medium, soft strategy. Yeah. No, a bit disappointed.
Well, I do want to ask in this scenario, we saw early on all the Bentleys seem to drop backwards through the field outside of the top half. Do you think there's a balancing issue, or do you think that the Bentleys, you and the other two, were just on a slow start, just trying to, slowly up the pace over the course of the event?
Yeah, I was actually just trying to keep out of trouble and trying to get what I can get at the start of the race. But yeah, everyone just seemed to have taken off, and yeah, I was just easing into it personally. Yeah, just trying to do a good first stint. Then I was going to go wild towards the end. Yeah. Well,
it was definitely wild. Either way, it is a shame to see you drop out this early, but I do want to ask one last question. Who's going to take over for the car in Stint 2?
We got AFMG Form. He's going to be doing Stint 2, and we're actually double stinting the whole race. So.
All right. Well, we'll be keeping an eye on that. Fun. Thanks for jumping in and talking with us, mate. Have a good day if you can.
You too. Cheers. Hopefully I'm not back in here again for the same issue.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
See ya.
And while
Bye.
we were talking there with AFMZ Aussie, you saw C480, who inherited the lead by staying out long on set of tires. He has gone ahead and pitted out of the lead, so that gives the lead in the GT back to LMP Kaiser. Also, we saw that TNR Blade has stayed out, but the Toyotas that were running with him, so that would be Luzko and Maverick, they have gone ahead, and they've both made their pit stop. So TNR Blade leads right now in the prototypes. Scalarity runs in second position in the BMW. Not BMW. I am butchering this so badly. Scarlatti is running second position here in the Bentley, and he's got Darkster, who had been the overall leader before pit stop started, right behind him. Darkster going very aggressive right now. We do believe, especially off of what I've heard Aussie say in his stream, it looks like the meta is going to be run a bunch of soft stints and then try to put one medium stint in just in case. In that scenario, I imagine Darkster has elected to throw on the soft tires early. He's going to try, and Scarlatti is off into the dirt. Not massively off, but he did go off into the dirt trying to get around the C480 BMW there. But Scarlatti had a little bit of a slide off there. But as I was saying, I believe that Darkster's strategy is going to be to run a bunch of stints on the softer tire compounds and then probably throw on mediums near the very end when the track is fully rubbered in. There is track rubbering turned on for this event, so the track's only going to get faster and faster. And we have seen before, if you have a lot of pace, it is not a bad option to go ahead, use your faster tires earlier, and then use the slower tires later with the track's rubbered in, and you're not that massively off pace. TNR Blade coming into the pit this time. We assume that Scarlet T is going to pit this time as well. He'll have to. That's 68% on those rear tires right there. And with that in mind, coupled with Blocktoberfest coming into the pits right now, that will be the entire field having successfully completed their first mandatory stop of the day. And at the front of the field, by a massive margin, is going to be SFM Darkster. And you have to go way back to find your second place driver. That is Everstone right now. He is in one of the BMW open top prototypes. Follow after that, it looks like it's going to be Strict Code, who's just barely going to be of TNR Blade. So it looks like the BMW prototypes have a handle of it. And then the bottom category in the GTs, it is the Chevrolet of LMP Kaiser, who has opened up a gap on everyone else. Second place is the pink Porsche of Apex Yes. And third place in that category is Blocktoberfest here in the number 41 Dodge. So that is your top three in all categories. Right now, after about 26 minutes of running here at Sebring. So as we are looking at the number 97 coming down, he can see a little bit of traffic ahead. That is Kaiser, the leader in GT, real quickly. So for a moment, you will see the leader in both categories right on top of each other just for a moment. Yep, side by sides that come onto the back straightaway. We're going to go ahead and take a Twitch mandated ad break, and while we do, we're going to spin the flying lap on board with our dominant leader right now, SFM Darkster. Give you an idea what a flying lap is like here at Sebring in the Toyota TS020 here. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we want to welcome you back here to Sebring. This is Strict Code right now, your third place driver in this green BMW. The open top BMW seem to be very, very adept right now at cornering. Not really seem to have the big top end speed, but they do seem to be pretty well set up overall for handling in the event. If Darkster didn't have the absolute monstrous gap in pace and distance over second and third, I could very easily see a scenario where this event goes with a 1-2 finish here at the end of Stint 1 for these BMWs. They just seem to be very well set up. Farther back, though, it is Maverick and Luzco. These two have been going back and forth at it for about the last 10 minutes here. They cannot get away from each other. Now, earlier they had TNR Blade in the middle of them, but Blade had elected to stay out an extra lap. It looks like, based off of how that went, as we round board Blade, you can see how far up the road Luzco and Maverick are. So that really goes to suggest that the undercut is superior for track position. Now, the overcut will eventually play back into Blade's hands because he's going to have a bit of a tire advantage for the rest of this run on the tires. But it does seem like the undercut is the advantage. So right now, Luzco and Blade feel great, but once they start bringing out their tires, they're going to be paying the piper. They're going to be feeling not so great once they see that BMW come back up into the fray. But right now, they don't have to face the music. Right now, they're going to be nice and happy where they are right now in 4th and 5th position, although I imagine they'd be a lot more happier if they were fighting for 2nd and 3rd spot. Of the 3 Bentleys, 2 of them are still on track, but neither are in the top half of the field. And Darkster is already pitting again, and this time, so he's only got about 15 minutes on his tires. So Darkster has been very aggressive, burning up the rubber right now. My guess is that Darkster is going to go for something a little bit closer to a Michael Schumacher type pit stop strategy, run a bunch of really, really short stints, and just put out a huge load of banger laps that are very close to qualifying performance. And then I imagine near the very end of the stint, Darkster will put on some harder tires. But still, it has been incredible. Darkster's gap on the field is enough that I think he's going to stay ahead of this duo. Yeah, he's going to stay way ahead of both Maverick and Luzco here, who now move up to 2nd, 3rd. EVR Stone and Stritch Code and the BMWs have also gone ahead and pitted with Darkster as well. So Stone and Stritch Code are actually going to drop down to 6 and 7. This will actually put Scarlety, I keep calling them Scalarity, I do apologize, but it will put Scarlety up here into the 5th spot for the first time in a long time here. So one of the Bentleys, even if it's just off the back of pit stop strategies, one of the Bentleys have finally cracked back into the top 5 positions here at Sebring. We are also now back underway for green flag pit, well, all pit stops are green flag, but we're back underway for pit stops here in GT. Is Apex, yes, in the Porsche has gone back into the lead in GT as LMP Kaiser once again has elected to make their pit stop nice and early. About 70% left in the fuel tank there, with new fresh tires on his machine. And then it will be Mosmatos. In this, I don't think it actually is Dutch Brothers, but there's a coffee chain out where I live here in Utah called Dutch Brothers that uses the exact same paint colors. And every time I see that, I think it's a Dutch Brothers coffee machine. But Mosmatos here, going to try and hold off C480 for what is currently 3rd place, 2nd of everyone who has yet to make their 2nd stop in the bottom category. It's fantastic seeing C480 being up here and showing some good muscle. C480 is one of those drivers I've had the pleasure to run with in various different events. He is one of those drivers that have come from SDR, also known as DIR Dramora's team in the past, although he has moved on to other teams in the time since. Dramora, while he's not been one of the faster drivers in general, has been respectable at finding other talents and getting them hooked up and set up with other teams over time. C4A is another example in that school, and we like seeing drivers like this be able to find a home within the Forza community and make something out of it here. So C480 has now overtaken Mosmatos, has moved up into 3rd overall in GT. Looking at their tire wear right now, C480 still has 42.4% on that left front, his most worn tire. Mosmatos in that Dodge there, his most worn tire right now is 46%. I believe that Mosmatos likely had pitted about a lap or two earlier than C480 during their first round stops, and that may be where that difference in performance had came from. So Darkster continues to lead. It is Maverick and Luzco who have been going back and forth at it here for 2nd place for about 20 or so minutes at this point. And again, earlier they had TNR Blade up in the middle of it, but Blade, I thought Blade would be able to catch them and run them down, But that has not been the case. In fact, Blade has actually lost ground to the duo, and Scarlatti is legitimately moved up now into fourth. So Scarlatti has finally hit the afterburners, and near the end of their first round on tires, they are really starting to find some pace and hustle their way up the grid here. So one of the Bentleys starting to move up, and yeah, that is Apex Yes, who is slow on the back straightaway. What is wrong here? Oh, the car is destroyed. Everything on the car is destroyed except for a pair of brakes and a pair of springs. What's happened to Yes? Yes had been leading. Yes had been leading on an alternate strategy where they had not yet pitted, but now everything on the car is destroyed. Something has gone horrendously wrong for the Apex Porsche. And whatever has happened, this is not only going to shut them to last, this is going to take them out of any running for any kind of good result here, because the Sebring circuit is just so long and they were creeping around for so long. Well, this puts C480 up into second, Mazmatos up into third. This means Blocktoberfest will now be the second highest driver of everyone who has made their 2 stops, and LMP Kaiser now is going to have a seemingly insurmountable lead over the rest of the field, considering that he's already made his stop and he's still well clear of second and third place right now. So that single-handedly may have gone ahead and ruin things for Apex Yes. The only good thing I can say for Yes is that he was likely going to have to pit that lap anyway, considering how low his fuel tank was and how burned up his tires already were. But that's not going to look great for them, though, because they are still going to have to try and dig deep just to overtake drivers like EVR Senna or FFR Sweesing, who they now have a pit stop ahead. They are in a world of hurt now. Meanwhile, we look back in this fight for second. Maverick over Luzko as these drivers are cutting their way through traffic. That is Scarlatti just behind, and very nearly right into the back of that green Chevrolet. Here we go, side by side between the Toyotas once again, with a Bentley coming up into the fray. Neck and neck as they're coming up on another Corvette. Are they going to make it 3 wide in the braking zone? They do! They both go wide. They both ran just a little bit wide, trying to get past the GT car. And it looks like Luzko's gonna have it. Here comes Scarlatti. Scarlatti pulls up on that black Toyota now. Looks to the outside. Well, it's not really the same kind of black. It's like a matte black versus an actual black between these two. But for the moment, Maverick holds on to the position over Scarlatti. Second, third, fourth, already just about nose to tails to come out turn number 1. Now into the second heavy braking zone, this time by. For the moment, Scarlatti falls off just a bit. It is still Luzko, Maverick, Scarlatti, second, third, and fourth as they continue to go back and forth at this fight through the S's and now onto this slow bend that opens up into a straightaway. Maverick's gonna go around the outside of Luzko, side by side, door to door, heavy into the brakes. Who goes deeper into braking? Maverick goes nice and deep into braking. Luzko slides the rear of that Toyota out. Maverick goes into the dirt, trying to not crash into him. That's gonna leave the room open for Scarlatti. Scarlatti's gonna go around the outside, but can't complete the overtake yet. Still side by side, Bentley versus Toyota, the original versus the copy, and it will be the Bentley that clears. So Scarlatti now cracks into the podium positions and goes in the dirt immediately afterwards. Immediately afterwards, Scarlatti goes in the dirt, and Maverick goes back into the third position. And now this time it's Maverick who drops the tire into the dirt, and Scarlatti starts closing the gap back down once again. Nose to tail, second, third, fourth, still on top of it as they rush down into this really tight Mickey Mousey section here. No big moves this time. And now down the back stretch once more. Scarlatti gained a double dose of draft. Maverick also has a draft on Luzko. Does he pull out to the inside? Does he go for a big dive? Here it comes! He's not going to commit to it though. Maverick wants to stay in line behind, but Luzko slides out a little bit wide in the final corner. The inside line is open, but Maverick doesn't have the grip to pull it alongside. They come up, they go around that Dutch Brothers Dodge. Still nose to tail for second, third, and fourth. Now we see Scarlatti looking to the inside of Maverick. Won't commit to it. He'll actually go ahead and brake early so he doesn't run to the back of the Toyotas. Both the Toyotas are going to run just a little bit wide there, but not too deep in the dirt. Scarlatti looking to the inside of Maverick. Maverick looks to the inside of Luzko. Side by side, Luzko and Maverick. Luzko goes in the dirt to not wreck the car, and that puts Maverick up in the second position. Scarlatti tries to get alongside the 827. The 827's in the dirt. Side by side, neck and neck between the two of them once again. We're gonna see the moment. Oh, I mistimed it. Wow, I did some Fox camera work there. I apologize, people. Where are they? I lost them. Alright, that's your leader, Dark Sir. That is an embarrassment. That is some real NASCAR on Fox camera work. I apologize. But there you are. There's the three of them. And something has gone wrong with Luzko, it seems. Luzko went ghost mode for a period of time. Now he's back to being normal now, but has lost a significant amount of ground in the process to Scarlatti and Maverick, who is now trying to open up a gap on Scarlatti here. So Maverick ends up ahead of Scarlatti, and Luzko has now lost grip in this fight. So this little menage a trois has spread out a little bit. They're in the cooldown phase. They need to get some water, rehydrate. Maybe things will change and they'll get back into it. But one thing Luzko's not going to be happy with seeing is that TNR Blades is just a little bit farther down the grid right now. TNR Blade in 5th. Remember, he made that early pit stop on the earlier first round of stops. He should be in a position that he could eventually overtake these drivers. You see Scarlatti pits out of the group now. But Blade now can see at least Luzko ahead, so Blade may feel at least one of these positions coming back to him here. Also, we have EVR Stone here in one of the BMW prototypes. He's going to go ahead and clear Scarlatti without too much issue. Stone was the driver who was riding second just before the final round of pits, well, this current round of pit stops began. I'm interested to see what the word's going to be on these BMWs of EVR Stone and to a lesser extent Stretch Code, if they're going to be back to being second and third once everyone has completed their round of stops here. Meanwhile, in the bottom category, like I said, is LMP Kaiser screwed away after Yapex Yes's accident. He is gone. Blocktoberfest currently runs in second position right now in the green and gray number 41 Dodge. Then you have C480, who is currently in third position. He is riding a wildly alternate strategy. He's trying to go as deep into the tire stints as possible. He is riding just a little bit ahead of Mosmatos right now, who is Mosmatos right now in that Dutch Brothers Dodge. They are fourth right now in category. Fifth is currently EVR Senna, but Senna is trying to go super far on these tires. I think he's riding a very hard set of tires right now, just trying to make something wild happen right now. But he's going to be overtaken momentarily here by VSR Alonso, who has already made his second stop. In fact, right now, the only driver in the bottom category who has not made their second stop is EVR Senna. A little bit farther back from that is FFR Suisse here in the early 2000s coded Chevrolet. Then you have SPV Sargent. Sargent has already made 3 stops. I'm not sure if he had I think he may have been the driver who had the accident back on lap 1, and that's probably why he is where he is right now. And then last place currently is Apex Yes, who is just in an absolute nightmare scenario right now. At the top of the field, though, in prototypes is SFM Darkster, and it's not even close. AFZ Maverick is a long way back from him right now. Rama 109416 has gone ahead and jumped into the pit lane a little bit earlier than I thought. I thought he might have been able to go another lap. He had a little bit of engine damage, so that may have hastened his choice to pit early. Second place, though, right now is Maverick. And look at this! Maverick has already been caught by Luzko and Blade! So that little disconnect thing that Luzko suffered must not have compromised him that much, because Luzko is now all of a sudden right back on top of Maverick. Real quick, let's go. Let's look at the tire wear. 55% on the rear tires right now for Maverick. Luzko, who is riding right behind him, his tire wear is at 55% as well in the rear tires. Then you have Blade. Remember, Blade pitted a lap later than these drivers on the first round of stops. He's only at 47%. So Blade has a significant tire advantage. He's got a significant handling advantage as well. I'm expecting we'll see these 3 drivers pit either at the end of this lap or next lap. Side by side between Luzko and Blade now. Blade inside, Luzko outside. Blade has some nice fresh tires. He should be able to go really deep under braking, clear that Martini Toyota without issue. And that is exactly what he's able to do. Blade now cracks the podium positions once again. So again, that overcut, that decision to pit late, now finally starting to play out for TNR Blade. It's not over yet though. Luzko is still right behind him. It looks like Maverick and Luzko, they're going to pit the end of this lap. Blade, I imagine, will pit the lap after this, because we know that he's able to go a little farther on the tires if he so chooses. Bit of a twist up ahead from AFC Maverick, and Blade is hanging out right there. Maverick very nearly into the dirt, had to compromise his lines massively. Blade's right there. Blade, with the slightly fresher tires, is looking like he is on a roll. He is hot like some spicy Doritos chips right now, and really putting the spice to Maverick's rear wing right now. No big move yet, though. Blade is content with pressuring Maverick. He's not really trying to hustle him, trying to force his way by here. Oh, that's one of the GTs off the line right in front of them. And Blade overreacted a bit and is actually going to lose a lot of time. That will bring Luzko back up to Blade just for a moment here. They make their way by, I believe that's Sargent. Another big twitch and slide by Maverick. Maverick, you can tell visibly, has pushed the tires to the limit, maybe a bit too far, but can he still stay ahead of Blade? Luzko drops the tire in the dirt farther back. Darkster is already coming in to make his third pit stop. So yeah, Darkster is absolutely just going soft, soft, soft. Darkster is only pitting once about every 15 minutes here. These drivers have gone about 22 minutes or so on their tires. And here are Maverick, Blade, and Luzko all going to pit the exact same time here. They can see Darkster just ahead as he is already coming out of pit lane right now. So yeah, with Darkster's massive pace advantage, that's kind of that's the kind of thing when you have Ferrari strategy. You can run some really eclectic and strange strategy choices if you desire, if your pace is just that good. And right now, Darkster's pace is so good, I could legitimately see him making this a 5-stop stint, if not a 6-stop even, and still win this stint by a handy margin. And it looks like TNR Blade is going to come out just a little bit ahead of Maverick and Luzko. So he's not going to have the tire advantage they did earlier, but now he has a track position advantage over these drivers. The other interesting thing is Scarlatti, who had pitted earlier than that group by several laps. He is now, well, I assume it's a he. I may be wrong. They do have trans colors. But they are now up into the second position on track right now. And the drivers who had made their third stop already, it is Stone and Stritch Code, they are not even in the top 5. So while Stone and Stritch Code are running the exact same strategy that Darkster is running, they do not have the sheer ridiculous pace to really make use of it. And then here in 6th position right now, this is the Bentley of AFZ Hyper LM. He has pushed his tires, I think, a little bit too far. You can audibly hear how much he is struggling to keep that car under him. He is at 63%. Now, if he makes it around, he'll be pitting with about 1 minute and 12 minutes left on the clock, so that will actually be closer to 52 minutes left. Potentially, he could make this on just 2 more stops. He'll pit now and then make it on 2 more stops, and those remaining stops could all be soft tires, and he shouldn't have to worry about tire fall off, but that car is handling absolutely awful right now, and that might end up holding up EVR Stone just a bit. And again, AFC Hyper LM is not the only driver on this strategy. Blocktoberfest is already going ahead making their 3rd stop. VSR Alonso is making their 3rd stop, but EVR Senna in the bottom category is staying out another lap in this BMW. He still has yet to make his 2nd stop. He's not yet hit the 60% mark, but drivers really trying to push their tires out as long as possible so they can try and shorten up later pit stops here. There goes your leader in prototypes. SFM Darkster rushes by as if there's no issue whatsoever. But again, I look at AFC Hyper LM as he's navigating his way through the final corner and very nearly into the outside wall. I don't know how he kept it off the outside wall there, but AFC Hyper LM finally says, I've had enough. He finally brings it into the pit lane. Hopefully he just has enough soft tires and good enough timing that he can just run soft to the 8 to try and recover some of the time he has lost pushing these tires out as far as they have. But then we'll be looking down here at EVR Senna. Senna is the one last driver who has yet to make his 2nd stop of the event, and we are almost exactly halfway through. Senna, I think, is trying to set something up so he can make it to the end of this event on just a 3-stop strategy. I don't believe it's legal. I think you're required to make 4 stops, but I think Senna is trying to set himself up for some kind of 3-stop strategy scenario here, trying to give himself as many options as possible later in the run. But right now, your leader in the... Nope, not C4E, that's 2nd. Your leader in the bottom category is LMP Kaiser, followed by C480. Again, I look at EVR Senna. You've got to pit this time. You got to come now. As now Blocktoberfest catches him, and Blocktoberfest has already made his third stop as still overtaking Senna on circuit. So Blocktoberfest is basically 2 pit stops ahead. Oh, that's chaos right there. That's a lot of chaos. Senna is the one who ends up worse for it, but that was the fight for third right there. That was Luzco. Maverick and Blade came up on that group all at once. Luzco now back ahead of Maverick, and Blade still right behind them. And it's Maverick who's wide. Maverick is very wide, and Blade comes to the inside, side by side. Blade clears Maverick as they come back on the start finish straightaway. Maverick crosses him over. He'll now be on the outside as they come down to turn number 1. He's got a draft off of the Martini Toyota ahead, neck and neck, side by side, and the BMW will still hold on to second. Luzco is wide. Luzco into the dirt. Blade at the second. 3 wide in the braking zone. And it's going to be Maverick who ends up in the worst position. Again, Luzco into the dirt. And now both of the Toyotas all sideways holding each other up. The Dutch Brothers dog is going to hold up Blade just a little bit. But the Toyotas are neck and neck, or I should say nose to rear, trying to run back down on TNR Blade. Blade has the advantage. He can break link going into this corner. Side by side, door-to-door contact again between the Toyotas. And it looks like, again, it's going to be Blade who holds on to the position. Absolute madness going on here. And now Blade looks back to the inside of Maverick. Forces that Blade just a little bit wide. Blade still here. He's not giving this up because now he is out in front. He's got clean air. He can go nice and deep into the corners anyway because he seems to have a slightly lower top end and much better cornering ability. Blade and Maverick need to stay in his draft and then try to overtake him coming onto the back straightaway this time by. A little bit wide, a little bit of a slide by Maverick. Here comes Luzco. Luzco's going to try and go side by side between the Toyotas again. He forces the matte black Toyota off. They're still side by side between the two of them, and Blade has scooted away. Blade has gotten away from this duo now. I think that may be it. I think that's going to settle the fight for third place because Blade, I think, has a superior car to these two, or at least he is having a better vibe with that car in the setup than these two are. I think that may have been all it takes to decide third place for TNR Blade. But still, Maverick and Luzco are still going at it neck and neck, side by side for position. Again, the 827 machine goes nice and deep, slides, cuts in front of the 223. 223 loses just a little bit of ground in the process. I think that's going to settle that fight just for the moment. While Luzco and Maverick will still continue to go back and forth for position, I think that's going to be it for them. At least for a good while here. But that was very chaotic. Senna has finally gone ahead and jumped into the pit lane to get off his old tires, and SPV Sargent is now making what is their 4th different stop of the day at this stage of the event. Guess about nose to tail between this group again. We're going to go ahead and ride on board with AFZ Maverick here as they're coming up to start a new lap, because we are going to have to take a Twitch mandated ad break momentarily here, but we will go ahead and keep our eyes on this menage a trois here for third place on track and prototypes. So we're going to go take a Twitch mandated ad break, and we will ride on board for a lap here with AFC Maverick. As you see, Luzco go to the inside of Blade. We'll be back momentarily here at Sebring. Oh! All right, ladies and gentlemen, we want to welcome you back here to Sebring. This has been a wild, long-term fight we have been watching between Maverick and Luzco, with TNR Blade being an occasional member of the fight as well. Right now, it seems like TNR Blade has backed off just a little bit. He's like, hey, you two can go ahead and just kill each other on track. I'll stay here and watch you guys do it, but I don't want to be knocked out. We already saw just as we went to ad break, Luzco was side by side with Blade. Luzco hit the inside wall just going into the final corner, and it shot his car sideways into Blade and nearly took Blade off circuit. I think after that, Blade has said, okay, if you guys want to take it this seriously, go ahead, but I don't want any part of that. Meanwhile, in the bottom category, LMP Kaiser is still your leader, even though he has just made his third stop. Second place is going to go to Mosmatos. Third place will go to Blocktoberfest. Fourth place will go to C480. C480 was actually running a little bit higher, but instead of running the really long stints, I think now we're past the halfway point. C480 is going to start running shorter stints on softer tires, trying to make up a little bit of ground. And what I imagine C480 is hoping will be cleaner air here. But honestly, if you ignore Kaiser, second, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth in the bottom category, GT, they're all relatively close to each other. And then obviously you have the real frustrating one, as we see FFR Sweezy making a pit stop. It is Apex Yes, who had that big accident. We did not catch the accident going on that happened to Yes earlier, but Yes was leading on an alternate pit stop strategy, but had an accident on his in-lap, but it was early on his in-lap. He has lost a significant chunk of time. He's basically about 2/3 of a lap down to the category leader, and way off the back of the likes of Sargent, Senna, and Sweezy. Mind you, Sargent had an accident lap 1, and is still running better than Apex Yes right now. So everything has gone bad for Yes. He just desperately needs something to turn around to work things out for him. Either he needs to find some incredible pace, or he needs to help that a lot of other drivers start having some accidents early in the lap. Otherwise, Yes may be locked into a last or near last place here in the GT category. But it is LMP Kaiser followed by Mosmatos right now. Mosmatos in the Dutch Brothers Dodge. Again, I don't think it's actually Dutch Brothers, but I'm telling you, they have the exact same paint in this IARA machine. They have the exact same paint as the local Dutch Brothers Coffee out here in the Utah area. But yeah, he is running second right now. He is the highest of everyone who has not made his third stop yet when it comes to the bottom category. All right, and now that we've gone ahead and, got our wits back about us and calmed down a bit after watching this psycho fight that's been going on between these two Toyotas and this BMW, now it's time to go back and lose our minds again looking at this fight. It looks like for now, Maverick has opened up a small gap on Luzco with TNR Blade right there. Time to lose our minds over this fight once more. Do you guys have anything else you want to show us here? There's still about 41 minutes left in the event. You see TNR Blade gain to the inside of Luzco. The BMW should be able to dive nice and deep under braking here, going into the final corner. Holding around the inside, Blade easily takes a position, but he's a little bit wide on exit. And Luzco on the inside, he's going to try the crossover side by side back on him as they go down the front straightaway. They are coming up on a little bit of GT traffic ahead. That is, I believe, Alonso, I think. Yes, it is. For a moment, though, Blade still holds station over Luzco. Ooh, Blade into the dirt that time. I'm not seeing that happen a lot. And now Luzco trying to close the gap back down. He's got superior straight line speed, but doesn't really have the braking to match the BMW. I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's going to be very rare for us to see the Toyotas outbrake the BMW going into corners. Most of their overtakes will have to be draft assisted going down the straightaways here. And Maverick is finally starting to open up a gap on this duo. Now, we've seen that happen before. We've seen someone in this fight, these two ways or three ways, open up a gap, and then all of a sudden the gap vanishes. All it takes is catching traffic wrong, being offline, dropping a tire into the dirt, and all of a sudden the gap vanishes. Keep an eye on Scarlity. They are running 6th position right now. They're on an alternate strategy that put them ahead of this group, and they've already made their 3rd stop. And look at this, SFM Darkser, 4th stop, right at the 1 hour mark. So if we do the mathematics, we count forward from here, Darkser can probably go ahead and make his next stop with about 45 minutes left, and then just throw on some medium tires from then to the end. Darkser's gap on the rest of the field is so big that he doesn't have to worry about being caught by anybody as long as he doesn't have an accident. We've not really put a lot of focus on Darkser simply because his pace has been so gigantic and he's been completely solo. There's just not a reason to keep an eye on him. We kind of know almost by default he's going to win this. Although as I say that, he's actually ended up behind Maverick, Blade, and Luzco. Oh, well, that's interesting. So Darkser, for the first time today, has lost the lead. It is now going to be Maverick, Blade, and Luzco who are your leaders, ahead of Darkser. That's the first time that Darkser has fallen out of the podium positions. And now Darkser, he is going to have to rush through traffic that has been slower and actively fighting with each other. Now again, if these drivers pit momentarily here, that won't be a problem. But if these guys stay out for 3-4 more laps, it's going to be a problem. There's enough tire life on these guys. I think they could stay out for a while longer. It looks like, though, Blade has finally opened up a bit of a gap on Luzco here as they've been navigating traffic now. So that might make things a little bit easier for Darkser to rush through and dispose of them. Stretch Code going ahead, making his 4th stop of the day. So yeah, you can see EVR Stone and Stretch Code, they're on the same strategy as Darkser. And if Darkser's lost the lead, well, this is not Stretch Code to last of your still running, well, second to last of your still running prototypes, and has knocked EVR Stone down to 7th. These drivers had been in 2nd and 3rd earlier on this strategy, but as it goes on, you just lose more and more time with all the time spent on pit road. I still think that Darkser has enough of a pace advantage. It's not going to be too much of an issue, but for EVR Stone and Stretch Code, it's just not going to work out, I imagine. Riding on board Darkser, you can see that Martini White liveried Toyota just up the road. So 3 of our 4 Toyota TS020s running in the top 4 positions right now. 1st, 3rd, and 4th. Blade is the exception. Blade is the wild card here in the 1 of 3, well, 1 of 4 still running BMW prototypes. In the bottom category, LMP Kaiser pretty much has that locked up by default. We're not really putting a lot of focus on that. The focus has been on 2nd place for most of the day in the prototypes, and now potentially how will this affect 1st place, because Darkser has to try and use his tire advantage to now overtake slower and much more aggressive prototypes. I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to use one of the points of interest cameras. I'm going to try and give you an idea of what the exact gap in time is between 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th right now. All right, let's go ahead and time the gap between 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. I'm just going to count it, and you'll have to figure it out yourself, but to give you a bit of idea what the gap is looking like. 1,001, 1,002, 1,003, about, yeah, our top 4 are all within about 3 to 3.5 seconds of each other, and Darkser has cleared Luzco like it was no issue. He just went right to the inside and sailed by him without issue. Darkser may have a bit of an advantage, as Darkser is one of the drivers that typically helps ESV Barcode with balancing cars. Even though Darkser isn't typically an A-class driver, he has been, at least within the balancing group, he has been respected and looked at in a generally positive light by most of the TORA balancing staff for a long time. So Darkser has a very good idea as to how ESV Barcode's setups are going to be, as he has been one of the drivers who has been there to help verify Barcode's balancing. So now you have to wonder, does Darkser have a bit of a familiarity advantage, knowing how ESV helps to set up and balance his cars, and now that everyone's running ESV Barcode's tunes, does he have a further advantage off of that? I can't say one way or another, but I have a giant-ass spoon here, and I have a really, really big black cauldron, and I'm wearing a hood, like I'm looking like the whole Horned King right now, and I'm stirring that pot, trying to bring evil into this entire thing right now, like I'm a 1980s Disney movie villain. But one way or another, Darkster has disposed of Luzco with no issue, he's disposed of Blade of no issue, and now he's looking up the road at AFZ Maverick. And I imagine when he catches Maverick, he'll dispose of Maverick with no issue as well. Still, for Maverick, it's got to feel great knowing that he's been able to lead laps without too much of an issue here. Real quickly, let's look at the tire wear of Maverick versus Darkster. Maverick, 56%, so he's likely going to be paying at the end of this lap. Darkster, who runs in second place right now, his tires are at 22.8% at the moment. Darkster can still stay out for quite a bit longer. Blade will pit this lap, but Maverick is actually going to stay out a little bit longer, and Luzco is going to join Blade in pit lane. So with 34 minutes left in this stint 1, I think Blade and Luzco can probably throw on a set of medium tires. That'll take them down to about 12 minutes or so. And then put on a set of softs. Oh, here we are. They're really being held up by Yes. Yes is really holding up Maverick. In the process, Darkster is being held up as well. Darkster finally gets, both of them finally get their way around that pink Porsche, but Darkster still has not been able to get around Maverick. I mean, we know that Darkster has a massive track position advantage, but losing it with this, these are the drivers that Darkster would be hypothetically fighting with later in the event. If Darkster spends too much time fighting with these guys, he may still end up being in a rough position for this stint win. And again, even ignoring that, this is a overall endurance event. You need great distances to make up for any potential incidents happening in later stints, and all this time he's spending fighting now is less time that Darkster will have in his favor later on. Maverick is not racing like it's the lead or the fastest guy on track. He's racing like it's Luzco. Big door-to-door contact between the two of them. Darkster to the outside, Maverick still on the inside. Darkster is getting antsy. He wants to get by now. He says, hey, look, I am faster than you by a massive amount. Let me through already. Right around Sargent that time. They'll clear him just barely, firing it onto the back straightaway. By now, Darkster with the superior traction coming out should be able to clear Maverick without too much issue. After all, Maverick is going to have to pit at the end of this lap. His tires are just about cooked. But oh my goodness, they're coming up on some traffic there. A lot of traffic, and that's Alonso he nearly hits. There's another one of the Chevys, side by side, and Darkster all sorts of sideways. He had everything go wrong in that corner except hit another car. But finally, Darkster's patience perseveres. He goes back to the top here. But how much time has Darkster lost doing that? Again, with 32 minutes left, Darkster, we think, is going to have to make one more stop. Everyone else, I think, will have to do 2 more stops. But that's assuming that Darkster is his final stop. He's going to throw on the mediums. If he wants to go stop, he may still have to make 2 more stops. But how much time is Darkster going to lose? And again, with how much of a gap and performance and lap time at least Darkster has, we see he's good with fighting some drivers, but not all of them. Some drivers are really able to take the fight to him. Luzco couldn't really fight Darkster, Blade couldn't really fight Darkster, but boy, Maverick really put the screws to Darkster there. But again, you have to wonder, does Darkster have a ridiculous extra advantage, a little bit of an unforeseen advantage by being so hyper familiar with how Barcode sets up his stuff? Is it that, or is it normal performance? We've seen in C lobbies, because typically C lobby is where Darkster ends up running in these TORA Enduros. We've seen Darkster before have runs in TORA C lobby events where he just absolutely goes out there and dominates. This is probably his best domination I've ever seen. But we've seen Darkster do this before. Could it be a different scenario? Could it just be that these cars really vibe with him? We may have had a disconnect. I'm not sure. Second place, C480 in the bottom category is pitting, so that will likely give the lead back over to Blocktoberfest, and well, second place over at Blocktoberfest with third place Mosmatos just a little bit farther back. But C480, Blocktoberfest, and Mosmatos have been having a pretty good back and forth strategy battle for second place in the GT category most of the day today, as a pair of Dodges and a BMW. But your leader is LMP Kaiser here in this Chevrolet. Scarlatti going ahead. They're going to pit out of second position now. Didn't have a lot of fuel left. So this will briefly put TNR Blade back up in front of Maverick and Luzco. The Maverick and Luzco going the long way around trying to split. Yes, and is that EVR Stone? Yes, it is EVR Stone. Again, they are on the same strategy as Darkster. Stone is coming back into a potential top 5. Well, he is in the top 5, actually. He's now coming back into what might be a potential top 3. So now it's 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th all on top of each other. Stone lunges to the inside. What in the devil is going on there? What? What? Well, Blade's gone. Luzco's up into 2nd. Maverick was way off pace as if he's gotten damaged. Oh, he has! Maverick's destroyed! Maverick, who had just led a bunch of laps and been the only driver to put the screws to Darkster all day long. His car is absolutely destroyed. He has to take the runoff there. I couldn't tell when I went to ride on board with EVR Stone. It looked like there may have been some lag spiking. That may have been some sort of lag issue. I can't confirm, but that looked like it was a lag issue, and Maverick seems to have come out the worst where he's not able to keep the car on track at all with all the severe damage he has. This has put Blade up in the 2nd position, well clear of Luzco, and now Luzco is trying to stay clear of EVR Stone. Stone was the driver we were on board with when it seemed like we had lag. Well, Stone now pulls back up behind Luzco, and Luzco has to be a little bit concerned here about what's going to happen next. Stone, mind you, is on the same strat as Darkster, but by now his tires will be burning up and just about near the end of their life. And I think all that chaos may have been all it will take to secure Blade's 2nd position in this result. He's not going to be anywhere close to Darkster. Darkster's just way down the road, gone, unless Darkster has an incident. He has this stint wrapped up in the bag by a massive margin. Stone's really struggling to get by Luzco. Again, when you're the driver with the superior straight line speed, being in front is good because you can get all your speed and also still have turn-in. If you're in a car that has lots of good turn-in but not so good straight line speed, being up front means it's not the greatest for defense, but you can get into the corners better and get out of the corners significantly better. Track position is always king, even in a scenario like this. But it does seem like for the moment this has calmed down a little bit here. They are going through a lot of traffic. That there is the now lapped AFZ Maverick. Ooh, around the Dutch Brothers Dodge. The IARA Dodge really held up Luzco there. This could be Stone's best shot at trying to make a move at Luzco here. Does he have anything for him? No. But he might try to get to his inside on the exit of the final corner. Luzco's wide. Stone to the inside, neck and neck, drag race between the two of them. How deep into the corner can Stone go? Well, he's going to try and cross over on exit instead. Thing is, every time you cross over, it gives you the line that you want, but you usually lose speed when you do so. And those BMWs don't have a lot of straight line speed anyway. Still nothing. As this group has now cleared most of the traffic, probably calmed down for a bit, we're going to go ahead and take a Twitch mandated ad break. We're going to ride on board with our event leader in GT, LMP Kaiser, for a full lap around Sebring. We'll be back momentarily here for TORA's 12 Hours of Sebring. right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back here to Sebring. We have about 22 minutes left here, and things could get a little bit interesting, to say the least, on how when it comes down to trying to calculate where everyone's going to be in the fight for second to the end. We know that Darkster in Prototypes is going to win by default. We also, unless he ends up in an accident. Same seems to be the case for LMP Kaiser. Unless there ends up being some catastrophic failure, he's going to get the win in GT by default. But second for both categories is going to get interesting. Second place in GT has been contested by Blocktoberfest, Mosmatos, and both of them just went off at the same point of the track, and C480, who did not go off track there. So those three all have an interesting fight for what could be the podium spots. Second place in Prototypes may have been simplified down a bit. I think TNR Blade might still be able to pull away from Luzco. We'll see. Traffic management is the big thing, and Blade has had iffy traffic management. Luzco has also had iffy traffic management as well. But we expect them both have to make another stop. Then you have Scarlet T here. With about 21 minutes left in the event, Scarlet T is also going to have to make another stop. Difference, though, is that Blade and Luzco, I believe, will have to throw on a set of medium tires, I believe, sooner rather than later. No, they could actually go. I think Blade, Luzco, and Scarlet T might all end up paying at the same time and put on soft tires. But these three all could be on top of each other. And then there's the outside chance that EVR Stone may have something to do with that fight in the lead near the end. Now, if they went ahead and put on mediums, they will have track position to put on softs, so they'll have pace advantage, but they'll still have to pit one more time anyway. And I think if Stone has to pit another time, that will take him out of it. But it could be Blade versus Luzco versus Scarlet T for second in Prototypes, and then Blocktoberfest, Mosmatos, and C480 for second in the bottom category as well. And then just keep in mind, the leaders in both are just way gone. Speaking of which, leader in... Oh, hello. That was Scarlet T, who very nearly wrecked into Kaiser coming into the pits. Kaiser coming into the pit lane right now, making what will be their fourth, and I believe their final mandated stop. One other rule for TORA is that you are not allowed to make your final stop within the last 10 minutes. So when that race timer hits 30 minutes, everyone will have needed to complete all 4 mandatory stops. Now, if you have to make more stops, or if you're planning to make more stops than that, that's fine. You can make them as long as you want, as long as it's not when the timer is up. But other than that, like, all mandatory stops must be done within the first hour and 30 minutes of the 100-minute stints here. EVR Senna, who runs in 15th position, still has yet to make their final stop. They have been pushing their tire life farther than anyone else throughout the day today. It's been an interesting strategy, but I don't think it's really going to get them anything significant here. There's also Mosmatos, who's been doing something similar, but significantly less aggressive at it. They are likely going to be pitting momentarily here. Oh, maybe not. They still got some tire life. 40% right now. Whenever they elect to pit, they can probably throw on some softs and go crazy to the end here. C480 with the fresher tire seems to have cleared Mosmatos, but also the Dodge. Typically, the Dodge has a lower top end than everything else in the same category it's usually in. Oh, there is no mandatories for this event. Okay. Well, no mandatories. I know at Daytona there were a limit to stops, but there are no mandatories for this event, so that changes everything. I apologize. TORA has been running mandatory stops so long that I just kind of by default assume mandatory stops are going to be an aspect of it. But no mandatory stops definitely will definitely lead to some upending of how things go here. Scarlet T has gotten by Luzco here for third place in Prototypes right now. So Scarlet T really making something of it here as this is coming down. So our 3 different manufacturers in Prototypes, the BMW, the Toyotas, and the Bentleys, they're all representing the top 3 positions. right now, and then there's another Toyota afterwards. Then you have Stone, Rama, and Stritch Code, 5th, 6th, 7th, all right on top of each other. That's your group of remaining BMWs. Stone and Stritch Code are on Darkster strategy, just pit more often with sheer pace. I'm not sure that's going to work out well for them. Rama's on more traditional strategy. Then you have AFZ Hyper LM. He also has yet to make a 4th stop. Then you have Maverick, who was involved in what we think was a lag accident earlier. We were riding on board with one of the drivers, and there was just a lot of chaos going on. Then AFZ Cypher has been a lap down for a very long period of time is after that. Well, about to be a lap down, basically. Cypher and Maverick actually ended up starting the race very close to each other, but Cypher just kind of gradually fell down the order off a lack of pace. Maverick went right to the front, got very aggressive at the head of the field, and just could not do anything. There was also AFMG Aussie, who had the issue way earlier in the event that ended up derailing their event, so frustrating scenario for them as well. Cypher goes off now. But we are in the last 17 minutes of the run now. Look at this, Blocktoberfest, C480, and Mosmatos, all within about 2.5 seconds of each other right now. Again, 3 different manufacturers here, and honestly, the top, well, yeah, 3 different manufacturers in the top 3 positions, and then you just have another Dodge right there. Ooh, that's Blade, who's got just a little bit held up there by C480, might get held up by Blocktoberfest as well. Real quickly looking at the tire life on Blocktoberfest in the Dodge, he's got 58%. He'll likely want to consider pitting sooner rather than later. Then you have C480 here. He's at 60%. He's also going to want to pit sooner rather than later. And then you got Mosmatos, who has yet to pit. He's just hit 51%. Mosmatos, we have 15 minutes left. I think Mosmatos is going to have to pit. I think all 3 of these guys are going to have to pit, but are they all going to pit at the same time, or will they pit at different laps? That will be the big question. Well, here's your answer. Blocktoberfest staying out for another lap, but both C480 and Mosmatos say, okay, enough's enough. We're going to stop now. So this will be their 5th stops, and they will hope that they will be able to catch Blocktoberfest, because Blocktoberfest is going to be out here on more worn tires for another extra lap. Now, it's not excessively worn, but there's well, not excessively worn, wink, wink, but there's still 60% tire life wear on that. When he pits, he'll likely end up right ahead of C480 and Mosmatos, but he's going to have to get his tires up to temperature nice and quick here. But again, if C480 and Mosmatos immediately go back to fighting between each other as they come out of the pits, it may not matter. That might be enough to secure 2nd place in GT for Blocktoberfest. Scarletti and Luzko still going at it for what is currently 3rd in prototypes. Blade holding on to the 2nd spot. Real quickly, let's look at the tires for 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. 54% left with not much fuel for Blade, so he's going to have to pit momentarily here. Luzko, running in 3rd, is at 54% as well. Got a little bit more fuel, so they could short fill if they wanted. Then you have Scarletti here, who is running in 4th. In the Bentley, they are at 69% tire wear. They're at 2.7% fuel. They have to pit this time by. I'm shocked that Scarletti has stayed out this long. Why did they stay out this long, I have to wonder. And then just for comparison, Darkster was still out on track right now with 13 minutes left. He's at 46%, so he's likely going to go ahead, make a 6th pit stop, which is what we predicted earlier. So Blade's pitting this time. Luzko, I imagine, will be pitting this time. No, Luzko's going to stay out, and Scarletti is going to pit. I mean, to be fair, I think Luzko could probably squeeze out this last lap, and then, again, they have extra fuel in the tank. They could short fill, make it a really short pit stop. Meanwhile, between C480 and Mosmatos, this is the fight for 3rd. May turn into a fight for 2nd here. They are side by side between the BMW and the Dodge as they come into the back straightaway. But the BMW has slightly better straight line Mazmatos has slightly better cornering, so for now, Mazmatos will fall back in line behind C480. Just run behind him for the moment. And then try to catch him on the exit of the final corner. C480 can't really deny the inside to that Dodge, so the Dodge has that preferred inside line. Blocktoberfest still in pit lane right now. Side by side for second. Where's Blocktoberfest going to be in relation to this duo? He's starting to come out of the pit lane now, but here they come. C480, Mazmatos. They were going to go around turn 1, and they're on the bottom. You can briefly see Blocktoberfest. So Mazmatos and C480 are now fighting for second position on merit here in GT, with Blocktoberfest just a little bit farther back. And Mazmatos clears C480 for the position for now. A little bit of traffic management now trying to be resolved by one of our prototypes. I believe that's Stone. Darkstar goes ahead and makes what should be his final stop of the day. Mazmatos defends the inside. C480 coming to the outside. Not close enough to do anything. There's more traffic. That is another, I think that might be Rama, who was held up there for a moment by Mazmatos. Prototype traffic really struggling to make their way through this group now. All the prototype traffic doesn't exactly make it easier for the GT drivers to deal with stuff either right now. We ride on board Blocktoberfest. All right, Darkstar and Luzco have now both made their stops. So we're anticipating that Blade is going to end up back in second without issue here. The question is going to be Scarlety. Where's Scarlety going to be in relation to Luzco? I'm watching that on the map right now while we ride on board Blocktoberfest, who is fourth, watching the fight for second in GT just ahead. Indeed, Blade is going to clear. It looks like Scarlety is going to clear Luzco as well. So the late pit stop was not the way to go, it seems. Luzco will have 11 minutes left, but here we are, side by side between Blocktoberfest and C480 here. We'll see second, third, and fourth in GT firing into the final corner this time. It looks like C480 just not as good with handling, has really compromised him. He's going to try and come back to the inside of Blocktoberfest. Mazmatos holding on to second. That was Stritch Code, the last of the prototypes who are on the 6-stop strategy, going ahead and making their stop now. Still side by side between the Dodge and the BMW, but the Dodge has superior cornering capabilities compared to the BMW, and now Blocktoberfest has caught Mazmatos. So now it's Dodge on Dodge action. When you have two cars that now we know have the exact same tune, it's just going to come down to who has the better adaptability and who is just the smarter driver. It doesn't even have to be a matter of being the better driver, just being the smarter driver, being able to take advantage of the lines, the strengths and weaknesses of the cars better than each other. And all the while, C480 is right behind them. If these two spend too much time fighting with each other and they bleed off enough time, C480 will be in a position to go right by. For the moment, though, Mazmatos is doing a good job holding Blocktoberfest off. Blocktoberfest has another run. Is that going to be enough for him to do anything? Does not look like it. Still side by side between the Dodges. And now Blocktoberfest with the outside line gets through, and C480 is now right there. If C480 gets a good run onto the back straightaway, he might be able to clear one of them. Probably not both, but might be able to clear one of them. Blocktoberfest held up just a little bit, holding himself up. He's having a bad line through the corner. But you can see how much the Dodges pull going through the corners when they're not being held up by prototypes. So Blocktoberfest retakes second from Mazmatos. Mazmatos looks back to the inside, but is not close enough to do anything. Nose to tail between these Dodges again. C480 still runs right in their draft, but does not have the stability in the car in the corners to do anything to him. He needs one of these drivers to make a big mistake. That may have been it. Blocktoberfest misses the corner of turn 1. Mazmatos gets back alongside. Neck and neck between the Dodges again. But Mosmatos gets back in front of Blocktoberfest, and Blocktoberfest has a huge slide, ends up in the dirt for a bit. Suddenly C480 is right back behind him again. But now Mosmatos is into the dirt, and Blocktoberfest will have a better run onto this little straight, and C480 has a run better than both of the dodges. C480 now looks to the inside of Blocktoberfest. Blocktoberfest looking to the outside of Mosmatos. No room for C480 to complete the overtake, so no changes happened that time. And there's also the fight for second now. Scarlatti coming up on TNR Blade. Bentley versus BMW has been a fight we've not seen a lot of today. Oh, bad traffic management though. That will probably kill that fight. And now we look back here. Mosmatos, Blocktoberfest once again side by side. But it is the IARA dodge that has got the nose ahead for the moment. 7 minutes left on the clock. Bit of a twitch and slide there by C480 as they come onto the back straightaway again. Thing is, while C480 has straight line speed advantage, Blocktoberfest is gaining a draft off of Mosmatos, can use that to deny C480 any chance to get alongside him here, where C4 is at his strongest. Oh, Blocktoberfest hits the inside wall. He's still there, he's still on the inside, trying to make something happen. Nothing else comes of it though. A little less than 6.5 minutes left between these three. Apex, yes, has actually used some interesting pit strategy, has cycled up to 5th on track. Now, I don't know if their tires are going to make it, but yes, might be able to recover from their accident earlier and pull out a top 5. It would be an incredible run if they are able to do so. Blade and Scarlatti, that's them right behind in this fight. Neck and neck, Scarlatti on the inside of Blade. Straight line speed advantage goes to the Bentley. The BMW can go deep, but he's going to try and cross over instead. No, he just can't keep up. Blade seems to be losing a bit of ground to Scarlatti here near the end. No signs of damage or anything. It just seems like Scarlatti has opened up a can of whoop ass on that BMW. So now it is Toyota, Bentley, BMW in the top 3 right now for the prototypes. Luzko is also starting to close in as well. Might Luzko have something for Blade? Reminder, Luzko pit a little later, so there is no risk of tire fall off for Luzko here coming to the end. Blocktoberfest still has the position over Mosmatos. Has actually opened the gap up, and Mosmatos likewise has now opened up a bit of a gap on C480. So that fight in GT seems to have calmed down a bit. Now the question is the fight for third in prototypes. Scarlatti is now opening the gap. Luzko gets the tires high center on the curb, but the car is still under him. He's still straight. He is right behind Blade. Straight line speed is where this Toyota really has the advantage, but couldn't get there. The track changed direction fast before he could get properly alongside. But Blade has just about lost draft from Scarlatti. This could be a perfect chance for Blade to try and nip the BMW. Contact between the two of them. The BMW ends up in the dirt. That compromised both of their runs. Yeah, that's it. Scarlatti is gone. Scarlatti is not going to have, as long as Scarlatti's not held up by traffic here. And just as I say, Scarlatti is he's going to make it through traffic. And that is the fight. That was C480 they had to get by. C480 has now completely lost touch with those dodges. Scarlatti going his way through the dodges now. He's going to go, there is no room out there, Scarlatti. Why would you take that extreme outside line? There was no room. I don't think you could put a piece of paper between the wall of Scarlatti's car and that dodge out there. But anyways, Blade holding station over Luzko. But Luzko is not letting him go. Luzko trying to lock the BMW entries completely out of the podium positions. Luzko has a run on the outside, but is not going to have superior braking. The BMW can go nice and deep under braking through here. The Toyota puts the power down. That's one of the AFZ team cars. I believe it's Cypher that they're dealing with there. No, that wouldn't be Cypher, would it? No, that would be Cypher. Oh, and that was a dive bomb, and they both run a little bit wide in the process. There was a bold, kind of brash and dive bomb by Luzko, but Luzko has kicked BMW out of the podium results right now. And Scarlatti, I'm sorry, is gone, vanished up the road. And that fight seems to be over. So what of Blocktoberfest and Mosmatos, the fight for second? Well, the gap has opened up significantly in favor of Blocktoberfest. With 2.5 minutes, a big slide by Blocktoberfest, though. Something like that's not going to help. C480 has completely lost touch with this fight. I don't know if it's just that they put on the wrong tires. Oh, those tires are cooked. Yeah, I think the tires just aren't going to make it here. Blocktoberfest, I think his tires should still be good, right? Yeah, Blocktoberfest will be fine on tires to the end. Mosmatos, I don't know about their tires, though. Ooh, Mosmatos tires aren't looking good. Yeah, it looks like tire is going to be what decides this fight here. As long as Blocktoberfest doesn't hit the wall or get hit by someone else, with how much more warm Mosmatos' tires are, I don't think he can take him. But still, Mosmatos' tire scenario is much better than C480 down the strip here. So I think these positions, first through fourth here, are going to be solidified. But again, I just want to take a look. Want to make sure I'm looking at this right. I think fifth place is going to go back to Apex Yes. After that catastrophic accident earlier, Yes has parlayed some pit lane strategy and might still be able to pull a top 5 result out. Incredible recovery drive by the pink Porsche. And of course, we can't end this without talking about the guys at the top. LMP Kaiser has led almost every lap here in this stint, has opened up a gigantic gap of about half a lap over Blocktoberfest. Just nothing has been on LMP Kaiser's level today. So this Chevrolet absolutely just destroyed it. And mind you, that's the highest Chevrolet in the field. The next highest Chevrolet is way down here. And next highest Chevrolet is way down here. FFR Swissing in 18th, mind you. They are a lap down to Kaiser. So Kaiser, not only is he good, he's so good he's lapped the other Chevrolets in his category. And then obviously we want to talk about SFM Darkster very briefly here. Darkster, not quite as dominant in the same way. Darkster has been on a mad pace rush, though. He has pitted one more time than most of his rivals on track and has still opened up a gigantic gap between himself and his rivals on circuit. It will be incredible for Darkster. A great way to start this TORA Sebring Enduro out. There's definitely going to be questions about the spirit of the rules, about how familiar Darkster is with ESV Barcode's tunes, but one way or another, we have to say, hey, he did a good job. We say, hey, man, that was a good shot, man. As we come down to the final 4 seconds to end stint 1 here at Sebring, time's up, over, plow. And mind you, those were the 2 leaders who very nearly hit each other. Those are your 2 leaders in category. SFM Darkster, your leader in prototype, and LMP Kaiser, your leader in GT. Kaiser said, okay, look, I was a little bit too far ahead. That was no bueno. He backs up. Second place in prototype is Scarlatti in the 742 Bentley. The Bentleys waited a long time to show their pace, but boy, when they showed their pace in the last 30 seconds, they really showed something. LMP V Luzko, who, in what I believe is in the best painted car in the field, comes home in third. TNR Blade will be a bit of a distant fourth. Everyone trying to reorganize where they were exactly. A little bit of confusion, I guess. Then you have EVR Stone, will be in 5th position. 6th place will go to Rama 109416. 7th will go to Stritch Code. 8th will go to AFC Maverick, who probably should have been a lot higher if not for that lag accident. 9th will go to AFC Hyper LM. 10th will go to AFZ Cypher, just passes our finish line. Then you get to your GTs, as I said. LMP Kaiser is your winner in GT, followed by 12th place Blocktoberfest. That's interesting. Well, I assume Blocktoberfest is in the right position, but I don't see why these 2 are in this position. Are they damaged? They wrecked at the finish. Oh, they did! Blocktoberfest and Mosmatos must have wrecked coming to the finish. Well, I kind of feel weird having not caught that. I apologize. But I do think it will be Blocktoberfest, who will be classified as being 2nd, Mosmatos 3rd, C480 will be 4th, Apex Yes with a recovery drive will come home 5th, EVR Senna will be 6th, 7th will be Sargent, don't know why they're moving. 8th will be VSR Alonso, and 9th will be FFR Suicine. And that will be your results there. We are going to go ahead and take a Twitch mandated ad break as we are looking at our winners in the 2 categories. We will be back momentarily here, and hopefully we can get some post-stint interviews from some of our top finishers in both categories. We'll be back momentarily here at Sebring. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back here to Sebring. We have seen our winner in the top category, SFM Darks, to go ahead and pull forward a bit. So they are likely going ahead and doing final distance calculations. So we're going to reach out and talk with some of our top finishers and see, or reach out to some of our top finishers, see if any of them want to talk with us for post-stint interviews. All right, coming to the party right now is Blocktoberfest. Blocktoberfest, can you hear me? Yes, please do.
Yep, I got it.
All right, Blocktoberfest, it has been an interesting time, to say the least, for you, all up and down the grid, but you came home with a podium result. A little bit weird how you came home with the podium. Walk us through that stint from your perspective, please.
Yeah, so from the beginning, I kind of knew what strategy I was going to be on the softs. Like, everybody was running all up and down. I knew I would do one mediums, and so I kind of stuck to my pace. Most of the time, I was kind of in empty air right there till the end. I actually should have pit one lap earlier on the mediums with C480 and who was it? Maz behind me, but ended up working out and ended up passing them in the last couple laps and made it home with the podium. Did I third? Was it third in GT class or second? What did I?
It was second or third, something like that. It looked like the two of you wrecked Yeah, it looked like the two of you wrecked, so I couldn't actually tell.
Yeah, so I actually got ahead of Maz by 4 feet there at the end. Like, I slammed on my brakes right as I was coming around the corner and just slid into the wall, and Maz also did the same and slid right into me. Luckily, no places were swapped, so it really doesn't matter, but yeah, it was a good race. I had a good time. Stuck to my strategy. My strategy worked out. I was able to save a pit stop, and yeah, race was good for me.
All right, I have to ask, who's going to take over the car for you guys in Stint 2?
I believe for Stint 2, it's Valkyrie, UDP Valkyrie. I believe it's taking over in the next stint. So,
all right, we'll be keeping an eye on Valkyrie then. Thanks for jumping in and talking with us. And with that in mind, we want to go ahead and shift our focus to LMP Kaiser. Kaiser, go ahead, make sure your audio is included in the Xbox party. Fantastic job out there, Kaiser. What do you have to say about your run out there?
Oh, my English is so bad, bro. That was just fun. 0 people with me, but that was fun.
Who's next in the car? Who's next? Stint 2.
Whoa.
Who's next?
I don't know.
All right, well, we'll keep an eye out.
Chilling here.
All right. Thank you, Kaiser, for talking with us. Grazie.
Sorry for my English.
It's okay. Though that is the word from our winner in the bottom category. Now I want to talk with our winner in the top category, SFM Darkser. Darkser, I'll keep this really short because I think you might be going to Stint 2 momentarily here. But fantastic job out there, Darkser. How in the world did you find that level of domination out there?
I'm not in Stint 2.
Oh, you have
so
your audio
got me for a
included,
little
right?
bit. Say again?
Did you
Yeah, it's
your
included.
audio?
It's included.
Okay, go ahead.
I started on the softs and I never got off of them, so I just did the no mistakes allowed, must go fast strategy, and it seemed to work.
All right, I'm here. I'm wearing a hood with some horn, like the Horn King. I've got a big cauldron in front of me that I'm stirring with a big spoon. Do you think you have an unfair advantage by you having worked with the ESV barcode, the legendary TORA ESV barcode driver who's good at balancing cars? Do you think you have an unfair advantage knowing how he's tuned these cars and having worked with him off and on for so long? And do you think that unfair advantage has given you this kind of pace?
Wow, you're really stirring the pot there.
Yeah, I gotta stir the pot here. I'm a 1980s Disney cartoon villain.
I'm gonna go with no, because I didn't actually help make the cars. Barcode just made the tunes, and I just tested them to see if a driver of a not alien skill level could drive them consistently. I don't know how else to answer that.
I mean, yeah, that's pretty. You've put a bunch of liquid nitrogen in my pot of boiling anger. I can't make anything out of this anymore. I'll have to find something else to try and rile up anger with later on. By the way, thanks for jumping in and talk with us. Who's going to take over the car for Stint 2?
I believe Stint number 2 is going to be Chaos Fox for my car.
All right, we'll be keeping an eye on Chaos Fox then. Darkster, thanks for jumping in and talking with us. We look forward to seeing you going forward.
All right, you'll see me in Stint number 6.
All right. We'll keep that in mind. I've tried to send interviews out to other top finishers here. I've not been sure if I've been able to. I think I've sent invites out to everyone I possibly can, but not everyone has been able to respond. So with that in mind, we're going to go ahead and... Oh, wait, Darkstar, you still there?
I'm here.
All right, real quickly, someone in the chat asked, on a scale of 1 to 10, how's your hangover from last night?
I'm good.
So a 1.
Yeah, there is none. I'm not hungover. I am perfectly
fine. All right,
fine.
Well, there's your answer. Darkster has no hangover, apparently. All right, but with that in mind, I have been your host for today's broadcast, Insane Layer 13. I want to say thank you, everyone, for jumping in for Stint 1 here. We're going to cut this stint, and then we'll be right back in a very short period of time to do the broadcast for Stint 2. Until next time, though, thanks for jumping in. Farewell, and goodbye, everyone.